Thursday, the 13th of July. It's 6:04. I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. We will have public comment. Those wishing to be heard, did people sign up? We have 3 minutes for those wishing to come forward. Please do so
It's,
now.
yes.
David Brum.
85 Pleasant Lane.
I'll continue my concerns with the village's determination of assessed value. Lee, you might be interested to know that Gina's property, which is worth 50% more than yours, is assessed at an amount less than yours. This is another example of the absurd and unfair results of the village assessment process. This is also an example of how the system discriminates against lower valued properties. But it isn't only the system. The village continues to send out tax notices which contain a blatant lie in the nonsensical lowball amount it puts down, and contains deceitful wording in addressing referring to fair market value, when the system does not use fair market value to determine assessed values. Bill and Gina told me in my grievance hearing that they would correct this, but of course they were untruthful. And the village refuses to tell residents how assessed values are determined. This is a pretty easy ask. You could do it in one page, but of course you just refuse to do it. And now I've been told that the village has no records to support the calculation of any particular property's assessed value because they destroy all records that are more than 4 years old. This alone should be enough to invalidate the entire system. Why does the mayor and these trustees continue to this arcane and unfair system? Because they don't care about the residents who are paying a disproportionate amount of the village tax burden, and it supports their greedy and corrupt motives. But I believe there are good people in this community, people who care about others. But if these good people continue to be passive, they are enabling the mayor and the trustees to continue in their vindictive, nefarious behavior. So I'm asking, if you care about others, please get involved.
Thank you, Mr. Rung. I'm actually going to call on the village attorney, and we're not going to have a back and forth, but I would just like the village attorney to please explain the tax bill that the village sends out, in the springtime. Thank
Sure,
you.
Mayor. I'd like to address one other thing first, if I may. I believe that the record retention schedule for the types of records that Mr. Rung is seeking is 4 years, and I believe that the village maintains that record retention schedule. With respect to the tax bill, there is a line on the tax bill that refers to the full market value of the property, which is for the information of the recipient and is not used in the calculation of the tax bill. The way that the tax bill is calculated begins with the total tax levy from the budget, uses the assessor's assessed value of the property, and then multiplies that by a tax rate, which is set so that the multiplication of that ratio ends up with the village receiving the full value of the levy. So, for example, on a fiscal year June 1, 23 to 5/31/24 bill, the tax rate is 20.1467092. That is multiplied by the assessed value to end up with the tax amount due. The full market value that's referenced on the bill, the uniform percent used to calculate the full market value, which is a number that is set by New York State and not the village, it generates that full market value by multiplying the assessed value by the constant set by New York State to achieve the full market value. It's not part of the calculation of the village taxes. It's the way the tax bill is calculated is by working backward from the total tax levy and using the assessed value of properties. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about how these taxes are calculated.
Wait,
So I could respond.
No, actually, I said we were not going to have a back and forth, Mr. Rung.
I didn't use my full.
No, excuse me, Mr. Rung. You spoke. You're done. I just asked the village attorney. I asked the village attorney to explain the tax bill. That's what he did. You're finished right now. Thank you. Thank you. No, I just want to make sure what is on the village tax bill is what is required by New York State law, and the number that is used is what is set by New York State, not by the village, and we are in full compliance with New York State law. Is that correct?
I've reviewed the bill and I believe it is. Yes, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Excuse me, Mr. Rung. Excuse me, Mr. Rung. You are sitting down and you are not called upon. We are not going to have a back and forth. I said that and I will say it again. Thank you. All right. Next, any other comments from the public?
Yes, Ken Weinstein, 111 Fox Hollow.
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to talk about two things. I see in the agenda you're going to have a review of the lighting and you're going to upgrade the village lighting.
Yes.
I hope you're going to follow the village code for lighting because lighting trespass is a problem. The old design, I could read the newspaper in my living room at night because of the lighting that goes from a 75-foot pole into my house. So that's point number one. So I hope you follow the code. The second thing is I published a letter to the editor in the press today about the state of the windmill.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that the village makes every effort to basically reclaim its heritage and its patrimony on this property that, you know, someone who knows the history knows this woman who took the windmill, whether she bought it, stole it, whatever. But there are pieces, there are the sails and the vanes that have been disassembled, and I hope you can get those immediately. And the second thing is, I hope somebody sets up a nonprofit to raise money to relocate it and restore it. Because I know you have property on Windmill Lane that's just waiting for it.
No, thank you very much. Yes, we are looking into that. Thank you, sir. And we are going to have a report from Johnson Controls about the lighting in the village.
Will there be a selection where people can decide what designs they like? Because there's a plethora of poles.
Yeah, they're going to do a presentation, so we will get to that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now, any other public comments?
We have none other on the sign-up sheet unless Sage has anybody with their hand up online. Anyone here in the audience?
We have the captain here, excuse me, the chief here.
Yeah,
I think she's going to
we
talk.
were
with the
gonna- we're gonna-
public.
You're gonna wait and
Hold
have
her,
it at the.
hold her back
Okay,
for a minute,
we'll
yeah.
hold you back, okay.
But now we wanted to have the employee of the month, and I'm going to turn it over to Trustee Brown for that, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. This is truly an exciting time, especially for me, and I'm sure our sergeant. This is my first nomination. I have quietly observed Sergeant Jones for 2 years, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about her, and then I'll ask the chief to come up. Sergeant Ashley Jones was hired in 2006 as dispatcher, and then went to attend the police academy, and was hired as a full-time police officer in 2008. In 2016, she was promoted to sergeant. The Southampton Village Police Department has been an accredited agency since 1993. Accreditation is a self-initiated process for adapting. So with that saying, I want to just speak from the heart. Sergeant Jones, with me observing you for the last 2 years quietly, you have shown yourself to be a leader. You have shown yourself to be a team player. You have shown yourself to be a great supporter of your commanding officer, and for that we thank you. You're an example as a leader. You're an example as a team player. You're an example as a person, and the village takes high pride in having you as our team. So with that saying, I'm going to say thank you so very much. I know that you did an outstanding job above and beyond with the accreditation of the police department. It was quite laborious, that task. the chief has told me, and I had viewed it. I also viewed how you are with our officers, our traffic officers. I also see how you are quite adept to other departments and able to brief me on those things. And they are noted, and they are also spoken to my fellow trustees and the mayor. So we all appreciate you. Thank you. I did ask you a question, but I'll give the chief her time to gloat on you. And if you will be so kind to answer that question after the chief does. Thank you so very much, and congratulations.
Good evening. I just want to reiterate what Trustee Brown said about Sergeant Jones. Sergeant Jones is our utility player for our department. She pretty much has her hands in everything. And she's my right-hand person, and she's Lieutenant Wetter's left-hand person. What you don't realize is anything that could have happened over the past 2 years, as far as audits, inspections, accreditation, happened. We had a Department of Criminal Justice Services audited of our radio room. We had no guidance to follow whatsoever. Sergeant Jones and I figured it out. Everything had to stop because we would have lost funding if we didn't come into compliance with certain things. So she helped me with that, and also at the same time we had a New York State Commission of Corrections inspection on our holding cells, and we had to come into compliance with that. And really, she really stepped up, helped me with that. We rewrote some policy and procedures, and we're in full compliance with everything, and hopefully we won't be bothered for another 5 or 10 years with either one. But she is a proven leader. Other supervisors go to her for advice or assistance when they need it, as well as my officers. So really is an asset to the department, and thank you for everything.
Thank you, Chief. I now have a proclamation that I would like to make, and this is to someone who has served the village for a very long time, and I'd like to just read the proclamation, if I may. Whereas the Village of Southampton wishes to recognize the profound positive impact Robert J. Essay Sr. has had on our community, and whereas in 2003, Robert J. Essay Sr. was appointed to the Planning Commission for the Village of Southampton and began a 2-year term marked with dedication and professionalism that evolved into a 20-year-long commitment of service to this community. Whereas Robert, a longtime resident of the village and village business owner, provided valuable insight and efforts while working alongside his committee, peers, and village boards throughout his tenure. Whereas in appreciation for 20 years of dedicated service to the residents of Southampton Village, serving on the Planning Commission, as well as 55 years of service with the Southampton Fire Department, now therefore be it resolved that I, William Manger Jr., Mayor of the Village of Southampton, New York, unanimously express our sincere appreciation to Robert J. Essay Sr. In so doing, offer him our thanks for his dedication and efforts in serving our community. Signed this 3rd day of July, 2023, William M. Manger Jr. I just want to know, I signed this on my first day in office.
Yes.
So,
Just to answer one question to that gentleman, when I was either on the architecture review or the planning commission, we tried to get that windmill back, and the college would not hear us. They just let that building, they're letting it fall apart.
time to apply more political pressure.
And it was quite, I think, correct me correctly, I think it was either 1889 or 1898 she moved the windmill. And prior to that, there was a classmate of mine by the name of McCorwick. His great-grandfather ran that mill.
Here, can we all get up here for a picture with me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you.
Robin? Where's Roy?
Oh, it was there.
All right. All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, my wife's great-great-grandfather, Sarah, his house was behind her, and he was showing her all the documents. She doesn't know anything about it.
You gotta tell her. He's a new historian.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
So, and Sergeant, you know, I apologize. I sort of jumped the gun. I was so excited about Bob getting into proclamation. So, I would like to give you the opportunity to say something as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a
All right,
microphone.
it's not too packed in here. Trustee Brown, you asked me a question the other day, so my response is trust. I believe that in every aspect of the police department, whether it be us within the department, me to my subordinates, me to my administration, even us as a whole to the community, everybody needs to have trust in the police department that we're trying to do the best we can for this village, and our commitment to you. So just trust us that we're all here for the better good and that we are all trying to do the best we can. As for my subordinates, you asked what makes an effective leader. I believe that I hope they all have the trust in me that I'm going to try my best to guide them the right way, the correct way. And I hope that my administration has the trust in me to do the same in turn.
Thank you very much.
We must capture the moment with a picture.
I'll take it. Just so you know, my family never lets me take pictures because I always cut people's heads off. Yeah. So you guys you always make me take the picture. I laugh. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, you're supposed to go all the way. Is that, can I just get in the back? Well, sorry. Okay, now we're going to call upon, thank you very much for being here. Call Johnson Controls and Chris Fitzsimmons to talk about the Sustainable Energy Improvement Project for the Village of Southampton. Thank you for being here.
It's a tough act to follow, the
Yeah.
law enforcement of this community, so I'll do my best.
Yeah. No, I appreciate this, and this is very exciting. This is really going to be quite transformative for the village in many, many ways. And I'm going to let Chris just introduce this. It really is going to be quite tremendous for what it's going to do for the village and how it's going to help save on the environment as well as costs for the village.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can get this thing going here. The Zoom header is blocking my
Sage, you got
ability
it?
to share.
Does he need help?
The header. Sage.
Yeah, it's on my computer here. Let me see.
Chris, I can't help you with that.
Yeah. Let me do this. I'm going to go back to this. My apologies. Let's do this first. And then escape that. Share.
Isn't there a way to minimize your header?
Are you going full screen with your presentation?
I'm
Julie,
trying to
help him out. Julie's our IT specialist.
See what's happening? That
I thought she was the
Yeah.
deputy treasurer.
You need someone a little younger, Chris.
She has a lot of hats.
She does.
one on the bottom.
There you go. You see?
Thank you very much.
You know, you need a Julie, Chris.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for having me tonight, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, public. Chris Fitzsimmons, Johnson Controls, Sustainable Infrastructure. Back in February, I was brought in to do an assessment for sustainability in all facilities throughout the village, reducing carbon footprint, updating facilities, helping with the needs of the village. My team and I took about 4 or 5 months to go through each facility, streetlights, roadways, everywhere. It's our pleasure to show you what we came up with and a path forward to reduce carbon emissions in this village. It's really an exciting project. These are some highlights. Village-wide infrastructure upgrades like we spoke about. LED lighting upgrades that are compliant with all the codes. The dark sky initiatives are very important to us, and we have to put that in. So, cost-reducing climate upgrades at multiple sites. Village renewable energy initiatives enhanced. There is some renewable energy. We're going to expand on it. Major climate action and global stewardship. There's going to be about 16 slides after this that go through some of the pieces, benefits, and the advantages of the village. Agenda project goals. When we had some goals we set. We met them all. We'll go through them. Measures that are in the project, things that will be done. The environmental impact, which is very important. Financial metrics. Again, the advantages the village will see. And the next steps from this point. The goals support the sustainability and resiliency initiatives, reduce utility and operational costs, deferred maintenance that we went through. There was a lot of pieces, long procurement delays, trying to get things done, leverage utility incentives, modernize building systems and aging infrastructure, improve safety, security through street lighting, and start a project in summer of '23. We reached all these goals and exceeded them. Part of the project, there's 58 measures here. It's a little tough to see, but if you go through, there's important items like boiler replacements. I'm going to go through some highlights in the next slide. LED lighting, renewable energy. Again, there's 58 projects being done in a span of 12 to 18 months. Throughout the entire village. 11 facilities and roadways. It's quite an impressive project. We've done this in many facilities and municipalities throughout Long Island and school districts. Some highlights. Wi-Fi enabled climate and building controls throughout. Boiler and furnace replacements at DPW, Veterans Hall, 25 Jobs, Windmill Lane Fire Department, roof replacement upgrades, AC improvements at Village Hall, police, solar renewable energy at 6 locations, enhancing the net zero approach on the village, and refurbishment of windows. A big piece was always renewable energy. What we wanted to do in the village was enhance that, expand upon it. DPW has some. Let's get it a little bit more inclusive. These are some renderings at St. Andrew's Firehouse. This array on the roof will make this building a net zero facility. This is our most impressive array. There's a campus with the police and ambulance. This array will zero out the consumption at those buildings. This will be a net zero campus right here. Very impressive.
The police station and the ambulance
And the ambulance.
will be completely taken care of by this solar array.
Yes, yeah. The energy produced will support the building's electricity consumption. 350 kilowatts, very impressive. Main Street parking, this is what's in the village of Patchogue. Just kind of an example. There will be an array of parking carport in the northernmost island that will support 6 buildings in the village, zeroing out those bills.
Is this in the West Main Street parking lot?
Correct.
Behind Village Hall? Yeah.
Yes, the northernmost island,
It
yes.
is back there. I know you're always confused in this, but yes, the one
I'm
back there.
usually pretty good.
Yeah, that was good tonight.
Back and to the right.
Yes.
Yeah. So an example of what facilities, Village Hall, Veterans Hall, Hampton Road, Windmill Lane, and Antique, and some of the street lighting. We produce energy, we sell it back to PSEG, and they give you renewable energy credits where you can reduce the buildings, getting that net zero carbon emissions approach. There's also a grant, the IRA grant, Inflation Reduction Act. In a couple of years, that'll come to you guys. We're estimating almost $750,000 for the solar piece. It's a great way to get things done. The environmental impact, public health is a big part of it. The carbon emission reductions, the net zero approach. You're talking about 919 metric tons of CO2. What is that? That's just nasty, bad stuff that goes in the air, affects asthmatic children and people, just cleans the air. If you reduce that carbon emission, that's what we're all about, greenhouse gas emissions. So. Biggest piece is the positive public health benefit. We've done a couple of these projects. The carbon emissions that we're going to reduce, it's an 88% reduction for the village, which is the highest we've seen in carbon emission reductions. Close to net zero, but there's some things you can't cover, but maybe someday we'll get there. 62% utility cost reduction through this project, through the implementation of these items. The village will save utility costs of almost $250,000 and be able to take that money and pour it back into the community in the infrastructure upgrades. These are guaranteed savings. Our team of engineers goes through, crawls through, and sees metrics that calculate the savings. That's where we get the number, and we guarantee it in the contract. Comprehensive total project, 58 items installed over 12 to 18 months, $6.7 million worth of stuff. There's no upfront cost to the village. There will be financing through a tax-exempt lease purchase. That will be a budget neutral approach for the village. No extra cost to the village. That lease gets started after substantial completion. We come in and do all of the upgrades, year and a half, 2 years, then the village pays back that lease. It's a great way to get things done. There's 12 advantages to doing this project. Johnson Controls is fully involved. We come in, we move in, we do all project management, utility incentive management for the village as well. You guys keep doing your business. We're going to come in and help you guys out. Like I said, all measures completed in 12 to 16 months. Deferred maintenance problem solved. Cost increases, cost overruns. Get things done now. The future is uncertain. How much will things increase in cost? Skyrocketing utility cost. 50-60% we're seeing in increases in utility costs. Solve extended procurement delays, getting contractors to do stuff. We're going to take care of everything for you.
Can I just backtrack on one question?
Sure.
Because combat skyrocketing utility costs, the 20 years utility savings back on the financial metrics is at 6.137205.
Correct.
Now, is that is in that calculation? Does that also include what the inflation?
Yes.
Okay.
When we do the assessment, we include a 3% annual escalation rate. That's the standard. 3% is low. It's going to be more than that, but this is relevant of those numbers.
Okay.
For 20 years, that's what you'll save just by doing the infrastructure upgrades.
Or more.
Or more, yeah. Just utility costs, by the way, not operational and maintenance savings. There's some for the lighting there, but there's more than just lighting. There's roof repair. There's boiler repair. There's a lot of infrastructure problems that you guys have been, taxed with. So the sustainability goals were paramount. That's why we teamed up. You guys wanted us to kind of come up with a sustainability plan. It's the most impressive we've seen in a municipality. 88% carbon reduction. It's amazing. Localized public health benefits. Partnership, Johnson Controls for future initiatives. I was here the other day, and Steve had something he was on the phone with. I called my team, and I hope we helped him out. Got a contractor, that for some other item that he was working on. It's a partnership. We love these partnerships. Obviously, it's a future-focused project. Village fiscal responsibility ensured. It's being smart with your money, not just spending it on utility costs, making sure you protect that. And again, guaranteed energy savings measured and verified annually. Our next step is to draft a contract, which will be reviewed by both councils. Go out for an RFP for project financing on your behalf. We've already started drafting that. And hopefully execute the contract next month. That's pretty much all I have, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Chris, very much. Board members, do you have questions?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. The relative cost of project financing through you or through our own municipal sources, have you thought about that, Charlene?
I actually had a conversation today because after the contract is signed, we have to start looking at the financing piece. So I had Noah Nadelson from Unistat, who's our fiscal advisor, on the phone. I also had Bob Smith, who's our bond counsel from Hawkins Delafield. We discussed, they're very familiar with Johnson. They're very familiar with, they've done other villages. I think Lindenhurst, both Bob
Correct.
and Noah were involved in that project. There are some steps and measures that have to be completed. There needs to be a cost-benefit analysis that's prepared and filed with the State Comptroller's Office. So, Chris, Noah did say he was going to reach out to you probably this week and get the information so he could start that analysis and get that filed. And that basically what that does is it goes through the exercise of comparing the tax-free lease purchase agreement financing to conventional bond issuance. And as long you have to prove that there is savings going with the tax-exempt lease purchasing.
Oh, that's a requirement of the state controller.
It's required under the state finance law. So Munistat Services handles that for us as our fiscal advisor once they get the clearance. So they're going to get working on that now so that we'll be on track. Okay. And once that process is done and we're cleared, and they said that the two different funding sources, I think you're using Bank of America?
Well, we put the RFP out, and we have a couple that respond.
But Bank of America's
pretty good at doing this.
They've been very aggressive lately with their interest
Right,
rates. So it's between 3% and 4%. We're in that range.
Yep.
So that's, for 20-year financing, that's probably in the range of where we would be with our credit rating. So the process is started, and once we get the determination on the financing, we'll report back to the board at that point. I think we're looking at end of August for finance resolutions.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's our timeline. So we're trying to stay on that timeline.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Great answer.
And there's no risk that somewhere down the road you also go, oh, sorry, this didn't work out quite right. You need to write us a check for X.
The guarantee has that. If we come up short on the calculations and we just didn't make it for some reason, we do two things. We do write you a check. Sounds funny, but we will.
Write us a check and
Yep.
we don't write you a check?
We'll write you a check for the shortfall, but then we'll figure it out. We'll say, okay, why did this happen, and we'll fix it, because we don't want that to continually happen.
It's just stunning to me that this all could happen with no cash outlay by the village. It's pretty amazing if that's true.
Yeah, that's the tax-exempt lease purchase. It's a good way to finance projects. Yeah.
And if you get a chance, there's a YouTube video highlighting the project in Patchogue. And Mayor Paul Pontieri talks about their
star of the show.
Their Johnson Control project there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's really is. It's really been great working with Chris. We've been. When Bob and Steve first introduced me to you, I guess 6-8 months ago, right?
Sure.
November,
Right.
around that time. So it's really been. I have all the confidence in the world in your company, and everything you say you've been doing and on time, And I think you already established a good, thank you, Steve, for coming tonight. And I don't know where Bob is, must be on vacation, right? So they actually met Bob in Patchogue.
Correct.
And that's what they brought you to us. But I think it's great, not only the cost savings, but some of our buildings are crumbling as as you've noticed. So it's going to bring a lot of updates, much needed updates to our facilities. But most important, the major reductions in the greenhouse gas emissions, which is so important for the environment and for the public health.
Sure.
So that's why, and it's the way of the future. So
Yeah. It's true. It's
I'm
a
glad that we
future-focused
could-
plan.
yes.
Exactly.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
not aware of
Exactly.
the local benefits of CO2. I mean, you sort of think, well, we're just gonna reduce the CO2, but to actually improve the air quality in this specific area
Mhm.
is, I mean, even with the wind blowing through and everything, it sort of stays here. I mean, I guess it's happening every day. You're reducing the CO.
As long as it's happening everywhere, you know, we can make an impact. You know, and we're doing that in schools, in municipalities, in hospitals, reducing those carbon emissions. It is making a change, you know, in greenhouse gas emissions. So, you know, to prove it and say, hey, you know what, this air is this polluted, or, you know, and then we'll do the change, and maybe this air isn't. It's hard to do, but
I know
you
Bill
know,
wants to move on, but this is fascinating. But so when something like the Canadian wildfire happens, isn't that just so, the stuff we're doing is just a drop in the bucket compared to this
of course,
bad stuff that's happening, right?
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's localized, you know, you hope it makes an impact, you know, for public health. Yeah, and fiscal.
So there is a resolution on the agenda tonight to approve the contract and the project to move forward, and then we'll have, we'll further down the road, we'll talk about the financing when that determination's made.
Great.
Okay, yeah.
It's subject to council's approval.
Right, right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you, Chris, very
Great.
much.
Thank you all. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
And now we're going to go to the capital budget, which was not done earlier this year. Only the operating budget was done earlier this year, so now we're going to do the capital budget. And we are looking at not only this year, but also a few years out. Here's one.
Thank you.
So, Julie, you're going to help me do the driving on this, right?
There she goes.
Thank you.
Back on the computer.
Julie, I don't know what we would do without Julie. All right, Julie, why don't we start with the fire department? I think is the first slide. Is that right? And we have two members of the fire department here, including Chief Manny Escobar. So he can help us. Actually, Manny, you want to say anything?
No, I'm good.
All right, all right. Yours is the largest part of the capital budget, though. You realize?
You have any questions?
All right.
It appears to me, just today, Chief Escobar said that the replacement of the heavy rescue vehicle cost had been updated.
Yes.
It appears to me that you have updated it.
We did.
Yes, she's very quick.
Julie.
Julie.
Actually, Manny, I would like you just to explain to the public what this vehicle replacement is. So could you just come to the podium and explain, since this is the taxpayers' dollars, and I just want them to know fully what they will be purchasing here.
Correct. So 7319 is one of our heavy rescue vehicles that was purchased back in, I believe it was 2003. So it's coming up to...
So it's 20 years old.
20 years old, correct. And it's actually one of our most valuable vehicles. It doesn't have a tank to put fires at, but it is pretty much a toolbox for our firehouse, our fire department. It has every equipment that we need for MVAs, boat rescue, ice rescue, anything that pertains to rescuing, even for smoke investigation. So it's pretty much a utility that we get to use at every scene. It rolls to every call, pretty much. So we're looking at replacing it, and we have been working at the committee. I apologize. The committee has been working all year to spec it out, to outfit what is needed for this community. We have removed a few things that we think that we no longer need, such as the generator, anything with that needs fuel, anything with gas, and trying to move forward with battery operating, because that's what the future looks like. So, but as you know, price have changed much more from the price that we gave at the beginning of this year. But it's because of the equipment and the materials that we need, and we will have to see the truck be outfitted correctly for the
Okay.
department, for the community. So,
And I see you brought Mike Camp with
Yeah,
you.
Mike-
Mike,
Mike-
do you want to say anything about the vehicle, the truck?
No, Manny's covered it all. Our biggest milestone with this, and I'm standing in because Mark is away with Boy Scouts or wherever he is in the woods. But the biggest hurdle we've had is the emissions. Right now, there is an uncertainty in the entire industry on what power plant they can put in any fire emergency vehicle, because they have to meet the new emission standards that aren't out yet. And at this time, the engine that we're gonna need to put in it, they don't even know if it's gonna meet the emission standards. It's what they say they think it will, but they're still working that out. So we're at a hard time. So we did the best we could with multiple manufacturers to
Mhm.
estimate the cost of what it's gonna be and kind of get it to a point where we're pretty sure we're not gonna blow that number.
And is this truck one of those ones that's manufactured in the Midwest? It seems like a lot of
Yes.
trucks are manufactured in the Midwest.
Yes.
Is this Seagrave or which manufacturer? Seagrave?
Pierce.
Yes.
Pierce?
yes.
We have a little bit of more leeway with Pierce because they're owned by Oshkosh, so Oshkosh has the military contract, so they get a little more engine allocations than other companies do, so they're a little bit ahead of the game.
Okay. Thank you.
And obviously, we're distributing the cost over a few years here so that we don't get hit with it all at once. But I think this is within the capital budget, and I appreciate that. Do you want to talk a little bit about the fire police vehicle that we are also purchasing?
Yeah.
Manny, or I don't know, Mike, if you were involved with that.
No, he's.
Oh, you're off the hook on that one. Okay, Manny, you're the fire chief. So what you want to talk about the fire police vehicle we're purchasing?
Yeah, it's it's actually in process right now. It's being worked on. So it's hopefully we get to see it the end of this year. I know one of the items that we requested was a message board for the fire police vehicles, which is an additional item that we started thinking that it'd be great for us, for the fire department, because we had a few issues in the past where members were getting hit by vehicles, and if we would have a message board where it would protect our members, it'd be great. Message board would be, of course, put any kind of messages, directing traffic different location. I think it will benefit the community, the village, for any events that might be that you might need our service. We could work along with the police department and the ambulance. So it's not just for the fire department, but for the whole community. And I mean, working along with Chief Hotel too, and I know they have a few equipment that we're going to utilize. So it's just, I think it's going to benefit for all of us.
All right.
So
And then the last major item for this year is for firefighter gear and radios. We're spending $176,000.
yeah,
And that's just, again, updating some of the gear, or is on a replacement schedule?
correct. Yeah, replacement schedule. Every 10 years, members should be replacing the gear. That's just a law. We also find out this year, we worked on with the other chiefs that if we get our gears clean annually, which is a different type of budget, that it could last longer than 10 years. Due from the cancer and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But we also have members that might only last for 6 years, only because how active they are going to these fires, that the gears get worn and tear. Such as mine is only 6 years and it's already looking like it needs to be replaced. So that's why we have that line item there for the gear replacement. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's a little bit more, but we able to manage it.
Okay.
So.
Well, we appreciate you being here. I know you might want to get over to the fire district meeting, which is also being held tonight.
But
So-
I just have one question. What happens to the vehicle that's being retired? So the 2003 replacement that what happens to that truck?
That's something that will be discussed further and we'll put into a bid to get sold. So it'll be sold.
Okay.
We don't get to keep that vehicle.
So
Okay.
hopefully
And
we'll
that
realize
goes- that-
some money from that, yes.
That's
Yeah,
what
and
I'm
we'll get some
saying.
money with
So-
that, and
and
hopefully
that
utilize
comes
it
back
in
to-
equipment and stuff. Yeah, so it go back
Okay.
to us. So
Yeah.
so that's what we've done in the past without the vehicle as well.
Okay,
So.
We did that with the last 3 engines that we bought.
okay.
We actually sold them, and it was the first time we've sold vehicles. Unfortunately, the fire service typically has kept vehicles until they are at the end of their life, and they're usually not worth much. So the savings is only a few $1,000s, if that, but the last 3 we got rid of when I was sitting in Manny's seat. I don't know, but I did out a whole cost analysis, and the department down south bought all 3 of them.
Mhm.
Good. Excellent. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Julie, we'll go to the next slide. So for the ambulance, they're actually not requesting that much this year, but they actually are requesting body armor. This is so that if they respond to a situation where there's an active shooter or something, and they need to go in to get to injured people, that they are protected when they get into a situation. If they have to get into a downed individual. And they want to, retrieve that person from a situation, they want to make sure that they're protected so that they can go in and get to that person that's been injured. So they are requesting $10,000 for body armor this year. And then they're looking at some larger items next year and the following year. But they came in very, very modestly this year, so we're pleased with that. All right, next slide, please. Police Department. Chief, you want to talk about your capital budget here? I mean, we have everything from the upgrade of the radio console to a police vehicle to body armor to upgrade to the phone system, and then Lexapol. Maybe you could explain what Lexapol is.
Sure.
Because again, that's not easy for me to explain, but maybe better for you.
So, everyone can hear me, right? So Lexapol is a software program. Our rules and procedures haven't been updated since 2013, and it needs a complete overhaul. There's things in there that are outdated, that don't apply anymore. Over the years, there have been some modifications made to it based on legislative acts, case law updates, but we haven't done a complete overhaul. So we'll be making an investment in the safety and security of personnel, our agency, and the community. It'll help address agency issues that create risks. For example, inconsistent or outdated policies. A lack of technology to easily update and issue policy and training bulletins, and doing that electronically. It'll just streamline everything a lot faster. The inability to produce policy acknowledgement and training documentation. Lack of technology to easily update and issue. Oh, I said that already. So the initial implementation fee gives us a dedicated person for a whole year to help us do this big transformation. We'll have a project manager, which will be Sergeant Jones, and I will be overseeing it. And basically what we do is we give them our whole policy manual. They're going to take it, they're going to go through it. They're going to give a side-by-side comparison of our old policy, the new policy with what they took out, what they added, so I can look at it and I can either accept it, decline it, or modify it. What I want to do, and it's important for me, is we need to make it specific to Southampton Village. The policies that affect the community, training, arrest procedures, the high-risk liability policies, those are all going to be based on legislative acts and case law. So those are going to be what's best practice and what they recommend. Lexapol also, it's all throughout the United States, but we're not going to get policy recommendations from California or Florida. They're going to be specific to New York, and they're cross-referenced with federal policies. So we're going to be completely covered, and it'll help with, if there's any litigation down the road, we're going to have sound, concrete policy. And the other advantage too is I want to get accreditation done electronically because we have no more space to house it anymore. We've been accredited since '93, so you can imagine what is down in my archive room that I want to get rid of when the retention schedule comes up. So that's included in the price of this. And also, every year it's renewed. Each officer will have a login to the web portal. They'll get an alert when there's a new policy or an update to the policy that's created. They'll be able to log on, acknowledge it, read it. With the new policy or an updated policy, there's going to be a training scenario based on the policy so they can fully understand it, and it'll count towards training. So they're also going to have access to an app that's going to be on all of our patrol phones. So if they need to pull something up in the field, if they're unsure of the proper procedure or what to do, they're going to have it right at their fingertips. And Lexapol also continually monitors changes in trends in legislation, and it'll just update everything, and everything will always be current.
Excellent.
Yeah.
and the most expensive item is the upgrade to the radio console, which is $600,000. The good thing is we're able to distribute that over 3 years.
Yep.
But could you just tell us a little bit about the need for that?
Yes, so the consoles house the communications for fire, EMS, Bridgehampton Fire Department, North Sea Fire Department, Ocean Rescue, Police Department, and obviously the Fire Department. We've had this equipment running nonstop since 2005. We have 4 consoles, 4 stations that have to be replaced by 2028. The reason why we're doing this now is we have to strategically plan for the future. The system right now is operating on Windows 10. As we go further and further away from Windows 10, there's more of, we're more vulnerable to a security breach because the software isn't going to be able to keep up with everything. And I don't want to have a security breach on our server and end up like Suffolk County, who's still recouping from the mess that they had. We just actually lost a console this weekend. We had to have an emergency repair come out. It was covered, but as time goes on, parts aren't going to become available. We're not going to be able to replace it, and we cannot have a failure, because if we have a failure of all the consoles, we're not going to be able to get the calls out and dispatch the appropriate agency to the emergency.
Okay. Thank you very much,
You're
Chief.
welcome.
All right, now we can move, Julie, to the Department of Public Works. We do have Steve Phillips here. First, we'll start with Highway. Just a couple of items there. We're purchasing a stump grinder and actually a used excavator. A used excavator, even though it's used, still costs $200,000. Steve, do you want to talk at all about any of these things? All right. Next, we'll go to the Parks Department. Parks Department, we're buying an 11-foot lawnmower for $130,000. That's some lawnmower. And we are actually going to get a water bottle fill station at Agawam Park, and we're going to start putting these in certain locations in the village. We've allocated $10,000 to add these water bottle fill stations so that people can, again, fill their water bottles, and they won't have to keep using plastic bottles all over the village. But so that's what's going on in the Parks Department. We can go to building maintenance. So we have some restoration going on in Village Hall and also at the Vet Center, as well as we have to do an update to the Village Hall fire alarm system, which really is very old. That's going to cost $60,000. And finally, central garage and street lighting. In that category, we're actually getting a new utility truck for $95,000. Again, any comments from Steve Phillips?
Maybe you want to explain why we need that truck.
You saw what I drove around in, right?
All right, yes, I did, but why don't you just go to the podium and just explain the
So
need?
people understand it's expensive and the reason why.
Central garage is riding around in a Yukon. There's no air compressor, there's no tools, there's nothing. So we need that truck for that reason. It's just like a regular utility body that you see around town.
Because trucks, to do repairs on the
we
road.
break down on the side of the road, we need
Right.
somebody to replace, not using a Yukon.
All right, do you have any other things you want to talk about?
That's all good.
Public Works?
We're all set.
Okay, thanks,
There you
Steve. You're easy, buddy. Yeah. All right. Ocean Rescue, next slide, Julie. They have one item in the capital budget, and that's a new Cassoni trailer. I believe this is going down at Cooper's, correct? To store some of their equipment. Their budget, again, is quite reasonable. So that's just under $7,000. And then next slide, Julie, is this is just to show where the fire capital funding sources are, and because they are the largest portion of capital funding in this budget. So we have an agreement, just so the public knows, with the fire district. As you know, the Southampton Fire Department covers not only the village, but also the fire district, which goes into Watermill and then through Shinnecock Hills, and areas outside of the village itself. So the village puts in 60% of the budget for the fire department, and the district share is 40%. So we have an agreement for 3 years that Trustee Stevenson and I negotiated with the fire district. That's a 5-member board of commissioners that negotiated that. And so for the next foreseeable 3 years, the village share is $600,000 on an annual basis, and the district share is $400,000. So each year, $1 million is being put into the capital reserve fund for the fire department. That's how we fund new fire trucks, new vehicles, and other equipment for the fire department. So that shows you where we are with a funding surplus or deficit, as the case may be, on a rolling basis. But as you see in the bottom line with the capital reserve balance, actually we are always staying in the green and not in the red. So that is a good sign. But we obviously have to make sure that we don't overspend. But we're on a good trajectory right now, thanks to the agreement we have with the fire district, so that again we are able to fund the necessary equipment for the fire department with the help of the fire district commissioners. Next slide, please, Julie.
No, she's there already.
Okay, sorry. I'm playing catch-up, Julie. This is the village-wide capital funding sources, and this just shows you where the money comes from in the different pockets of the village. So we have a fund of trustee special projects that's funded to the tune of $75,000 annually. We have the operating budget allocation, which is $250,000 annually. And then we have the transfer that was made. When was that made again,
Actually,
Charlie?
we're formalizing the appropriation tonight, but it was part of the adopted operating budget, because we had excess surplus, almost $3.8 million for fiscal year end May 31st, 2022. And the board at the time, when they were preparing the operating budget, decided to reserve, the intention was to reserve the $4 million to help fund some of these major projects over the next 5 years. So that comes out to about $800,000 a year.
Right. So that's where the $800,000 in that line item comes across annually, $800,000. So it shows you a total of 1.125 on an annual basis, and then it shows you rolling, whether it's a surplus or a deficit. And as you can see, it comes out to actually by 26, 27 to be a surplus of $13,000. So we just make it. But anyway,
Without
I
inflation.
appreciate our treasurer's diligence in figuring out how we can just pay for these capital improvements and different items that we need to fund various items in the village to keep the village running and safe and secure, with items for the police department, items for the fire department, items for ambulance and ocean rescue. But anyway, this was a lot of work done by the treasurer and by Julie and again the various trustees and myself. But I think we did a very good job with this capital budget, and we will be noticing a public hearing for this capital budget, so the public will have a chance to come in next month and speak.
Actually, July 25th.
Sorry, July 25th. Sorry, we're doing it the next meeting. Well, they will be able to come in at the July 25th meeting and talk about the capital budget if they want to raise any comments at that time before the Board of Trustees, I hope, passes this budget so that we can fund these different items that we think are necessary for the efficient and effective business of the village. But at this point, then I think that's the end of that presentation, unless any board members have any comments that they would like to make. Len? You look like you want to say something.
Well,
He's the new guy.
He's the budget guy.
I know. Go ahead, Len.
No, I'm happy.
Oh, that's amazing.
Happy.
Trustee Aresta?
No, I'm good. We went
Trustee
through
Brown?
everything. I think it looks great, and I'm anxious to get this done.
Trustee Stevenson?
I think it's a really good budget, Mr. Mayor. It's amazing to me that we couldn't get this done before. I'm glad that we got it done now, so hats off to you for pushing that forward and getting it done. One of the things that's been interesting to me that I've learned in my time as a trustee is how this village did not really pay attention to its physical attributes, the buildings, the equipment in the fire department, the equipment in the police department. We didn't keep up with maintaining that and putting money aside so that it would be available. The ambulances that we're replacing are all 20, 25 years old. The fire vehicles we're replacing are 20 years old. I think going forward, now that we've started this replacement process, we won't be having to come up with these big chunks of money quite as often once we get through this period. But certainly, we have to take care of this stuff. Things fall apart over time. Village Hall needs help. The Arts Center needs help. Every place in this village needs help, and it's nice to see that we're finally putting some funds towards it, and we're fortunate. And again, thanks to a good economy and the great work of everybody in this Village Hall, that we had a surplus last year, that we can take some of that money and now put it aside and put it where it needs to be spent. So, well done, Mr. Mayor, and I'm very pleased that the budget allows us to do these things that have been needed for so long.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on. The next presentation is from Trustee Brown on the Coopers Beach safety update. Trustee Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. So I'm happy to say, and I believe, that we have the safest shores on the East End here at Coopers Beach. And there are several reasons why. One being that we have an amazing team with our Coopers Beach lifeguards, our team there as well, our ocean rescue, and not to mention that our police team that is also over our drone patrol. First, let me thank the mayor and the trustees for agreeing and understanding what we were planning last year, and we were fully prepared with our drone purchase. Because of that, we were able to monitor the marine life, and we did not have any incidents that the other beaches had. So I want to thank our police department, our drone patrol, our ocean rescue, our lifeguards. Tremendous job that has been done and continues to be done. Thank you so very, very much about that. Just a little asking all of those, because safety is first, please take note of the flags that are telling us the different alert for the beach. We want to make sure that everyone remains safe. They are there, and as well as that, we're going to be having new signage so that it's easier for those to read. And let's see, I think that is about it for now. Thank you so very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Next, we will move on
Can I
to.
just add one thing, Trustee
Sorry.
Brown? I did have a suggestion, which I thought made very good sense. Recently, with the plethora of sharks that are out in the water, and we actually had Coopers Beach closed, I believe, for a little while, maybe last week, because they noticed, using the drone that you were instrumental in providing, that there were sharks near the shore. But as Chief Hurtah said, all of our SVOR and police and Coopers Beach people are connected with the village communication system, but there are some private lifeguards, for instance, at the Bathing Corporation and other places up and down the beach that aren't in that system. So while we were closing the Cooper's Neck Beach, the Bathing Corporation people didn't really know about that until, my understanding is, those lifeguards happened to be running down the beach and said, hey, what's going on here? And it was found out. So the suggestion was made that maybe we could set up even just a telephone system on everybody's got a cell phone. Just if stuff happens, that if you're a lifeguard, you somehow get a text message if you know, hey, this is going on. I think that would be a really good idea to just spread the word.
Very good point, and we are already in line with that. Matt Weeks has already taken care of that.
Great.
So thank you. Yes, we're in simpatico, as they say.
Okay, now we will move to the public hearing portion of this meeting, and local law, proposal to amend Southampton Village Code Section 110-43. This is regarding parking spaces. I'm going to turn to the village attorney to address this.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed local law is to codify the parking signs which are currently existing in the village for clarity in the code. through means that I guess we're not sure, there have been parking signs installed that are in certain places which are not referenced in the code, and this intends to remedy that. It does not change any of the parking situations in the village. However, because I have been recently making revisions to this law, I would request that the public hearing be adjourned to a future meeting, because the law as proposed has not been on your desks for 7 days to comply with state law. So,
Can we just postpone it until the next meeting?
yes, you may.
Okay, so can I, well, this is just a public hearing, so why don't we just,
It is, I would suggest a motion to adjourn the public hearing to the next meeting.
okay, which is July 25th? What is it? Help
Yes,
me out.
July 25th.
So a motion to adjourn the public hearing until July 25th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Chief is here, maybe she wants to talk about.
Yeah,
Did you want to talk about any of the traffic or safety issues while you're here?
I was asked to talk about the issue of
Oh.
parking in front.
all right, well,
Well,
Do you want me to hold, I mean,
we
could
could
wait
hold
for the
off that
public-
part.
I think
but-
actually, I'm being advised by the attorney that we should just hold off, if that's all right. All right. And,
Okay.
and if you have other things to do, you're certainly free to leave, Chief. All right. Then we will move on to mayoral appointments.
Okay, I'll take it. Mayoral appointment number 1, resolved that Mayor Manger appoints and requests a motion from the Board of Trustees to approve the following appointment for a 2-year term ending June 30th, 2025. Assistant to the Mayor, Barbara Sakovich, at a salary of $90,000, effective July 20th, 2023. Motion by the mayor.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2, mayoral appointment number 2. Resolved that Mayor Manger appoints and requests a motion from the Board of Trustees to approve the following members of the appointed Ethics Board. Reverend Michael A. Vetrano, with a term expiring June 30th, 2028, which would be the vacancy by Goldberg, and Ann Bishop Rachel, with a term expiring June 30th, 2026, for the vacancy from Tom Kepner. Is Mayor making the motion?
I'll make the motion, yes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Suggested resolutions. Resolution number 1, resolved that claims for the warrant dated July 13th, 2023, totaling $405,582.45, warrant A5, general fund. $131,000.67, warrant H2, capital fund. $32,830.46, warrant A6, payables fund. And $4,085.86, warrant T3, trust fund. And $9,198, warrant utility, A4 utility, are audited and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 2, whereas the Village of Southampton is interested in installing LED streetlights, building LED interior and exterior lights, photovoltaic solar panels, rooftop unit replacements, boiler room upgrades, etc., for the reduction of our energy needs. And whereas the concept of a performance contract to accomplish this goal represents a cost-effective solution, now therefore be it resolved to select Johnson Controls Incorporated as Energy Service Company ESCO for the coordination and implementation of this project, and be it further resolved to develop a specific contract in the approximate sum of $6.7 million, which delineates all services and equipment applicable to specific locations throughout the village, and be it further resolved that the mayor and the village is authorized to sign such a contract on behalf of the Village of Southampton, subject to prior review and approval of the Village of Southampton Council. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 3, resolve that the Board of Trustees, well, this will be tabled,
This
I
is
would
gonna be
presume.
tabled, right?
So we have a motion to table resolution number 3, which would be adopting the local law for the.
Motion to table the resolution number 3.
Thank
Second.
you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 4, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, at 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person/Zoom meeting regarding the proposed 2023-24 capital budget. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 5, resolve that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village clerk to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on August 10th, 2023, at 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person/Zoom meeting regarding local law XX 2023, the proposal to amend the Southampton Code Section 20-2A and B. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 6, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby authorize the village administrator and/or her designee to submit a grant application seeking reimbursement under New York State Department of Environmental Conservation 2023 Water Quality Improvement Program, seeking funds in the amount of $10 million with a required match of 25% thereof in support of the Phase 1 Southampton Village Sewer System Project. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 7, whereas the Village of Southampton intends to submit an application with the Environmental Facilities Corporation applying for a water infrastructure improvement grant to offset the cost of the Phase 1 sewer system construction of wastewater collection and conveyance infrastructure with the village downtown area. And whereas the Village of Southampton has reviewed the project under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations and determines that the project is a Type 1 activity. And whereas the Village of Southampton has submitted the project for review to the New York State Office of Historic Preservation for a determination whether the project would adversely impact any state or national listed historic or prehistoric resources, and SHPO by letter May 15th, 2023, has determined that the project will not impact such resources. And whereas the Village of Southampton is committed to funding the construction of the project using existing funds or bonds as deemed most fiscally appropriate by the Village of Southampton, and whereas the Village of Southampton wishes to delegate to its village administrator or her designee to sign and execute any document or instrument required by the EFC to apply for or effect this grant, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Southampton has conducted its environmental analysis of a former iteration of this project, which was contemplated but no longer to include a wastewater treatment plant at 1 Bowers Lane, and the location of which is now yet to be determined, and the full environmental assessment forms Part 1, 2, and 3 for the previous iteration of the project is annexed here 2 and made a part hereof, and which is anticipated to be updated accordingly, and be it further resolved that the Village of Southampton declares that existing funds or bond proceeds will be used to pay for the project if not paid for by grant funds, and be it further resolved, the Village of Southampton will request the 25% of net eligible project costs from the Water Infrastructure Improvement Grant, and be it further resolved that the Village of Southampton's village administrator and/or her designee is authorized to execute the EFC grant application associated with the Village of Southampton EFC grant application for the Phase 1 sewer system and all other contracts, documents, and instruments necessary to effect the Village of Southampton sewer system grant project, and to fulfill the Village of Southampton's obligation under the grant agreements associated with the Village of Southampton Phase 1 sewer system grant project. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Wait, do you want to set
I
discussion?
just can you just put this very simple for the
This
residents?
is the secret determination that's required for the grant application, and
Okay.
this is
Yep.
even though we're going for a grant, although.
Wait, I think the
This-
attorney has something
Oh,
to say.
okay.
Well, this resolution authorizes the village to submit a grant application.
Right.
And the verbosity of it is in part because the grant requires a recitation of the environmental analysis steps taken to date. And I apologize for the length of that.
No,
But it is a requirement under the state's guidelines for the
And
grant application.
and this resolution has to be submitted with the grant application, so the wording
Right,
has
but
to be in
the
there.
plan has changed since Bowers Lane is no longer on the table.
Right, and
Right.
I understand that, but just to make it, I mean, I understood what it was, but I just
Yeah.
wanted the residents to understand, because
Right.
it's very lengthy. You could
Right,
definitely
right,
like,
right, right.
what's going on here?
And just so you know, we had a in-depth conversation with Jen Mezziano regarding this, this application, and that we kind of went back and forth with the sewer task force, and we decided to apply to get our foot in the door, if you will, even though we probably have a very low chance of getting funded this year.
Right.
But hopefully, the fact that we'll get some recognition from the application. and-
Charlene, I believe there was also pressure because the deadline for the grant application is coming up, right?
Yes, it's the end of July.
That's right, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
I think it should just be very clear that the environmental analysis that's attached to your agenda and made a part of this resolution does still reference Bowers Lane, because that is the environmental analysis that
was
exists,
done.
but the proposal
Correct.
is not for Bowers Lane
Correct.
any longer.
Correct, correct.
Okay, so we
Very
do
good.
need a vote. We have a motion and a second, but we need a vote. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 8, whereas the Board of Trustees approves the 2023 adopted budget. Oh, I'm sorry. Whereas the Board of Trustees approved the 2023 adopted budget with the intention of using excess unreserved fund balance in the amount of $4 million to fund various general fund capital projects over the next 5 years. And whereas the 2023 capital budget is now being adopted and the funding is needed, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following budget amendment: increase appropriation of excess surplus in the amount of $4 million and increase transfer to the capital reserve in the amount of $4 million. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second?
Wait, discussion. So we didn't really adopt this budget though yet.
No, this is this was actually indicated in the budget message of our adopted, but we were going to earmark the $4 million regardless of whether the capital budget gets
Okay.
adopted or not.
Okay, okay.
It's supposed to be earmarked, and just so you know, you're aware, we have quite a healthy fund balance, and each year we've been generating multi-million-dollar surpluses because of our revenue stream being far exceeding
Right, but I don't
our
want
conservative
Steve
budget.
Phillips to hear that, because he thinks we can spend more money.
Yes. So one of the uses of excess surplus that's really a recommended best practice for budget is to use it for funding capital projects, not to use it for operating costs. A lot of municipalities have to go out and bond and borrow money for their capital projects. We're fortunate enough to have enough in our coffers to reinvest into village infrastructure,
right.
and that's what this
Which is what we-
resolution.
what's
This is
what
the
we are doing
resolution.
here.
This is the resolution formally moving the money
Understood.
from reserve surplus into
Understood.
unreserved surplus into the
Okay,
reserve.
so let's take the vote.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 9, resolved that the Board of Trustees directs the finance officer to make the following budget modification. Increase revenue, refund of prior year's expense in the amount of $40,000. Increase expenditure, A1490.2 DPW equipment in the amount of $40,000. And just so everyone is clear, we received a rebate in the amount of $52,000, a safety rebate for our workers' comp policy, due to some of the very safe measures that our DPW superintendent has been enforcing. And he is in desperate need of a new vehicle, because as the leader of the department, he's driving the oldest vehicle. So he's trading his vehicle in and getting a new vehicle, and that's what the $40,000 is being used for.
That's a sign of a good leader if you drive the oldest vehicle.
That's true. That's very true.
So do we have a motion?
I'm going to make that motion, Sean.
Okay, a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay, you can go pick up your truck now. Resolution number 10, resolve that the Board of Trustees accepts a donation from the Southampton Teachers Association at the Southampton High School in the amount of $2,000 to be used for Southampton High School students' certification costs for students enrolled in the SVOR training. Be it further resolved that the budget is hereby amended to reflect the donation as follows. Increase gifts and donations revenue in the amount of $2,000 and increase ocean rescue training in the amount of $2,000. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second, but just a quick discussion. Alex King sent me a note regarding that there might be a little error in this. Did you see that? I sent that to you this morning.
I don't remember seeing that.
Should we rewrite it or table it until we can get this resolved?
I've got the different language here. If you just bear with me 2 seconds, I can find it, I believe.
Was it in an email?
I think I forwarded it to you through through an email. Yeah.
Probably need to share it with the attorney.
If I can't find it
haven't seen
quickly, we will table it.
Okay.
And we could
I'm
bring this
looking
up on the
up.
25th.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Here it is. There's a small error in wording. The donation was given to be used by the Village Ocean Rescue for training. Can't read it. For training certificate of the high school students and for associated costs with the training courses attended by high school students. She wanted to add that language. Can we make a change to that?
Can we give that?
does that substantially change the resolution?
I don't think it does.
Do you want to see what she sent me? I can just show it.
Yeah, give it to the village attorney,
Sure.
please.
The request is for a modification to the budget line for not only the training, but costs associated therewith. I don't think that changes, I don't think that that's a necessary change. I think that the training costs will extend to the costs associated therewith, and the resolution can remain as is. But
Mhm.
if Ms. King thinks otherwise, unless this is time sensitive, we could adjourn it to the next meeting and I could address it with her, or someone could address it. I don't see the,
I didn't have a chance to chat with her. I just,
Well,
Like I
maybe we should table it now.
is
Okay.
there a description for this budget line that precludes it being used for associated costs?
No, it's training. It just says training.
I don't understand why this is such a big deal.
I don't either, but
I don't either, but
I mean, is it worth passing and then amending at the next meeting if we have to, or
if
just?
necessary, the board can amend the resolution from tonight.
okay.
What would the board like to do?
So I think we should pass it as written, and I will talk.
And we
she
can, and if
talk
there's a
to-
problem, we can amend it at the
Yeah,
next meeting.
I
Okay, okay. So, I'll make them, there's a second?
It
So-
was seconded,
Okay, so then,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 11, resolved that the Board of Trustees accepts a donation from the Diabetes Research Institute in the amount of $1,000 to be used towards the fire department's operating budget, and be it further resolved that the budget is hereby amended to reflect the donation as follows: increase in gifts and donation revenue in the amount of $1,000, and increase fire department equipment in the amount of $1,000. Is there a motion?
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 12, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves Kathy Sweeney, Village Clerk, to attend the New York State Municipal Institute and Academy from July 9th to July 20th. That's incorrect.
That's incorrect.
Long
It's
conference.
finished today. It's the 10th, it's the 13th, actually.
So change that, please.
Yes,
I think it's actually correct. I think that conference runs for 3 days in person, and then it continues for a few days by Zoom.
oh, well, there
So
you go.
Those,
Okay.
I think those dates are actually correct, but,
Okay, so we'll
but
leave it
Ms.
as
Sweeney,
is.
I don't believe Ms. Sweeney will be out of town for 11
No,
days. I
she's
think
coming
it's-
back this evening, so.
Oh, it says right here, and via Zoom.
Oh, okay, and via Zoom. Okay,
Okay.
there you go. So, from July 9th to July 20th, 2023 in Albany and via Zoom, registration, training, hotel accommodations, meals, and travel expenses are expected to be estimated at $1,950. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 13, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves Patrick Collins Jr. as a probationary member of the Agawam Hose Company Number 1, effective July 13th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 14, the Board of Trustees approves Ever Irizar as a probationary member of the Agawam Hose Company Number 1, effective July 13th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 15, the Board of Trustees accepts the letter of resignation from Derek Highsmith, Office Assistant in the Building Department, effective June 23rd, 2023. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 16, the Board of Trustees approves the application for a surf school license to be issued to the Southampton Surf Club to operate at Little Plains Beach during weekdays, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11:15 a.m., submitted by Miles Bruccoleri, I can never pronounce his name, and Christopher Pobat. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 17, the Board of Trustees approves the beach event for the Bathing Corporation of Southampton at 14 Gin Lane on Saturday, July 29th, from 6 to 12 p.m. for 600 guests. Parking will be pre-coordinated, and exception to parking letters will be conspicuously displayed on vehicles during the event. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 18, resolved the Board of Trustees approves the Stony Brook Southampton Hospital American Academy of Dermatology to host a free skin cancer screening event at Coopers Beach on Saturday, August 26th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Participants must depart Coopers Beach at the conclusion of the event to ensure parking is available for season permit holders and daily guests. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Resolution number 19, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the written request submitted by Alex King from Southampton Ocean Rescue to volunteer as lifeguards for the Surfers Healing Event at Ponquag Beach on Tuesday, September 12th at 2023 from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Wait, quick question. There was no liability issue that they are working outside of the village, is that correct?
Excuse,
That they're providing these services outside of the village?
I have not discussed this with the carrier. I haven't discussed it with the broker.
they did it last year, I remember.
And there's no issue with that?
I don't think there was an issue, but we can clear it with
I
them.
think
We can
that's a
get, we
good
can get a
idea. I didn't
separate,
think of
we
that.
can get a
That's a
separate.
Can we
it's a
approve
complex
this
task.
with the proviso that?
If
that
it's
the-
September 12th, you can table it till the next meeting, and we can reach Charlene and/or I can reach out to.
Yeah, we can table it. Let's table it.
Okay, but they probably want to tell.
There's plenty of time.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I just want to make sure that there's no issue with them doing this outside of the village.
We discussed this. I'm sure that we discussed this, but
Yeah, but I don't think that there was an issue last year, but I just have to go back and, so,
Yeah, 'cause I-
Motion to table.
motion to table?
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Aresta? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution number 20, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the request submitted by John Betts, Coopers Beach Concession, to host Coopers Beach music on Sundays from 5 to 8 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I'll
Unanimous.
just note that that's going to start Sunday, the 16th, and will continue on every Sunday right through to September 3rd,
Which is Labor Day.
which is Labor Day
Weekend,
Sunday.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, resolution number 21, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves a waiver of a building permit fee for a handicap ramp for a resident at 225 Halsey Street, tax map number 904-3-2-46. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. That concludes the resolutions for this evening.
Okay, so we will go to comments from board members, and we will start with Deputy Mayor Resta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first, I'd like to once again congratulate Mr. S.A. I know you many years, many different levels, not just from the village, and you're quite the resident. And if I have anything question about the fire department or finding out you're just about, you should be considered the village historian as well at this point in time. I know I could always reach out to you for that, but congratulations and many, many thanks for your years of service, not only to the village, but also to the fire department. So it's much appreciated, Bob.
After the meeting, I'd like to talk to you about the sewer district.
Okay. Okay, and congratulations to Sergeant Jones, who left, but you could tell her, and I've gotten to know her quite well, and I have to tell you, she's a stickler for details, and to do what she did with that whole accreditation, that's that was not easy. So, and she's just great. And I look forward to working with Chris Fitzsimmons and Johnson Controls. And I'm very anxious. As I said, we've been working on this a long time. I'm anxious to get this started. And I know we're going to stay on schedule like we've been. So we're going to see a lot of improvements happening within our buildings, and also we're doing the right thing for the environment, which is so important. So thank you. The DPW has been working very hard. I dare say that we're redoing the mayor's office, which was in dire need of being redone. So, and I just found out today that there's structural problems, and just like I said, most of these buildings are deteriorating. So they have to fix some structural problems in the mayor's office before it gets its new paneling and paint and all. The raking on the beaches have been taking place when they're allowed to do so, and working around the town trustees closing because of the piping plovers, maintaining the village district, which is very, very difficult considering the last couple of weeks. I think I've never seen this many people walking the streets of the village or on the roadways as well. It's been pretty difficult. Keeping up with the garbage, watering the flowers, and also putting a fresh coat of paint on the cannons on Monument Square. So they've been very busy, I have to say. So thanks, Steve, for doing all that you do to keep everything running. And I'm very happy about the new truck, because sometimes I go around with Steve and I can't get up, step up on that truck that's there. So I know you got a truck that I could get in and out of easily, right? You did. I know you did. Okay, and that's it. So have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I believe myself as well as the mayor, safety is number one. I have the privilege of serving with the mayor as we are both safety liaison. So now we are taking safety to the streets. We are happy to say that our first act of being out was with the fire marshal, and we went to Bishop Pond, and we had a really great turnout as far as making our residents aware of safety and checklists as far as keeping their homes, their self safe, and we're looking forward to going to other areas doing so. And since our chief is here, I'm sure that we would all like to hear about our active shooters drill. Our active shooter drill, we were happy to know that we were the hosting agency. And Chief, would you just give a few minutes to talk about that? Because we are so proud that we just believe that Southampton is the safest village.
Yeah, we hosted an active shooter drill at Southampton Elementary School. School principal and staff, Superintendent Nick Dino and Dr. Zahn and everybody all agreed we can utilize their school on a Sunday. So we opened it up to all the agencies on the East End, and it was a full day event. It was really good for the officers to go through. They had speakers. Trustee Brown walked through with me. On one of them, they had live simunitions, with our officers taking rounds, and audio of kids screaming. It was very realistic, and it was a very good training. They went through the scenario twice. The first time, the officers didn't expect things, and it was just very reality-based. for what, could happen, and we hope never does happen.
Right.
So we worked with the county on that, and they helped facilitate us getting their officers there to help us, and it was a really great event. We had all the East End agencies there, and in the end, we all have to work together in the event there is something, because they're our backup if we have something in the village. So it was excellent. We're going to continue to move forward with that in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And last but not least, CPR is coming. We're going to have people able to sign up for CPR, and I'm looking for people here in Village Hall to join me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, because we are the safest village. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Stevenson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Our job as trustees is to get things done that make this village better. And it's been extremely gratifying that in our first meeting, we got a new police chief. And in this meeting, we have a capital budget, which we didn't have. We have lots of things to continue to do. I'd like to see Pierce Concert House built. I'd like to see the improvements to Moses Park done. I'd like to see the sewer task force get done. I'd like to see transformational thing to the village with a park creation on Pond Lane. And of course, we have the big problem that's affecting all of our lives more and more every day, which is dealing with traffic. These are all things this board needs to address, needs to get done. The one thing I learned from my first term is how quickly 2 years passes and how easy it is to just have nothing happen. It's really gratifying to see that we've actually started to get things done here. I encourage the board to keep focused, and we've all got to work hard to get more done. So, thank you.
And with that, we'll go to our newest trustee. Trustee Zananti.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to, on a personal note, thank the staff here at Village Hall for a smooth transition during my first week. Charlene, thank you. Kathy, Mimi, Karen, sitting in the back of the room, Julie, Erin, and everyone who helped me out. I do appreciate that. I'd say this first week that I had was all about enhancing accountability for my job. We worked on this week enhancing accountability by fixing the C-Click Fix system so that we would have village employees understand who is submitting the requests so that we could be better at follow-up and more responsive to our constituents. So I think that's an accountability measure. And clearly, Johnson Controls is another effort in accountability, in enhancing accountability. The action plan to reduce carbon emissions and to create efficiency in a more sustainable environment for us is a great thing. Accountability and efficiency, I think, are the important hallmarks of an effective government. In the final analysis, these serve to reduce the burden on taxpayers, and we want to emphasize that this government is working for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zananti. I would just like to bring up a couple of things. One, we were informed by a resident in the village that there was a business here that was adding on a charge at the bottom of the bill that said Hampton's surcharge. And this was really unnecessary and an additional charge that really didn't make sense. You know, if the business wanted to increase their prices, they should just increase their prices. But to add a line item at the bottom that was Hampton surcharge, the resident came in here and asked if this was a village tax that was being applied to their bill. And we explained that no, this was not something that we were doing, that this was something that the business was doing. So we took it upon ourselves through the village attorney to go and explore this. And we talked to the business and said that we didn't think this was right to add something called a Hampton surcharge onto a bill that then they were actually charging tax on to the purchaser. So after some letters from 2 letters, I believe, from our village attorney, just before this meeting started, the business agreed that they would remove Hampton surcharge from their bills. So again, it was a small thing, but something that we felt was wrong, and something that this administration took it upon itself to make sure that that was corrected. We don't feel that people should be adding on Hampton's surcharge to bills that are paid by people coming to our village, whether they be residents or visitors. If someone wants to increase their prices, they should just increase their prices and not put it on as a Hampton surcharge that looks like it's a tax being charged by the village. So anyway, we're glad that that was corrected. On a happier note, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 4th of July parade, which I thought was just fantastic this year. And was very pleased to see that the Southampton Village CVO was able to raise enough money that it was able now in the end to cover the cost of the parade, which is fantastic. So there was no deficit this year. And just to let you know who were the winners of the major prizes this year, the Mayor's Trophy for the most outstanding entry went to the Brooklyn United Music and Arts. They were fantastic. They came all the way out, obviously, from Brooklyn. They were an outstanding musical ensemble, and so they got the Mayor's Trophy. And for the floats, first place went to the Boy Scout Troop number 58.
Great.
Mark Maddock was on that float with the Boy Scouts. He did an outstanding job. Second place went to the Shinnecock Indian Nation. They also had an outstanding float. And third place went to the Clam Man featuring the American Bombshells. And they also did an outstanding job. So I just wanted to highlight the 4th of July parade this year, which I think is one of the best parades, I think, in the whole country. And we're very lucky to have it here in Southampton. But I did want to highlight those were the major winners. So hats off to the Boy Scout Troop, the Shinnecock Indian Nation, and the Clam Man for winning first, second, and third prize. And they all actually win a monetary award. In fact, the Boy Scouts walked away with a $5,000 award, which is pretty good. So anyway, I wanted just to thank the Southampton CVO for putting on the parade on behalf of all of us. I think, we had a huge turnout for that parade this year. I think everyone really enjoyed it. It's a great piece of America, and I think the ability for everyone to enjoy that and then be able to hand out an award like that to the Boy Scout troop is really fantastic. And so I just want to say hats off to them for doing that, and for everyone's participation, whether they were actually in the parade or just watching the parade from the sidelines. It really was a great event and a great day. So with that, I think we have to adjourn for executive session for some legal, employee, and what other matters do we have?
We're also discussing litigation, Mayor.
And some litigation matters. So I would ask for a motion to do that. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of doing that?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
The time is 9:02. We are coming out of executive session, and I'm asking for a motion to return to public session. Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, no action was taken during executive session. So at this time, I am making a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much.
Good night.